You have like two images of the app. I said you have like two images of the app. Yeah, let me change it.
Dikasih tahu nggak sih jadi terus kapan dia nyerahin ke moderator?
What was the last Tuesday? I don't think so. Yeah.
I'm counted from.
So only, I mean, only one people open. Yeah, but one. There are 5 people here. What happened?
Should I start or something?
Yes, please, Nadia.
Yes. Should we get started?
Yes, we start.
Okay. Hello, everyone. I see the participants is joining us. So I want to welcome all of you to our webinar, How to Make a Powerful CV. This webinar is free training session for us to create an authentic yet powerful CV. The purpose of this webinar is elevate our knowledge through this sharing session. In this occasion, we will focus on how to make a stand-out CV or resume with our reliable and experienced speakers. This webinar is conducted by Indonesian Students Association in China, in Zhengzhou city. Like it's called like PPIT. PPIT is a student organization of Indonesia under the auspice of the Republic of Indonesian Embassy located in Beijing. I have a great things to inform our participants that after this webinar, we will have a competition about making a CV. Before submitting your CV, you will have 2 weeks. That is the deadline of this. Before you submitting your CV, it's like you have 2 weeks to prepare. The time will counted from end of this session. The winner will get award certificate and 100 RMB. So after this webinar, you can send your best CV resume to our moderator. I will text his IP address to our chat box below. Before we go in further, I want to inform you guys about Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you now. Continue.
Yes, so I was explaining the rules. I was explaining the rules of our webinar. Before we get started, I want to ask participants to put on mute your line because we don't want to distract your before like during your listening. So I would like to ask you to put your devices on mute. And for the next I'm assuming right about now that it's time to get started. So let me introduce our moderator. His name is Fafan Febri. He's master candidate in tourism management in Zhengzhou University. He'll be guiding our webinar today. Now, time is yours, moderator.
All right, thank you, Zandira. Good evening, everybody. Today, I'm going to be your moderator for this webinar. It's called How to Create a Powerful CV. So today, we have invited two special guests. The first one is William, and the second speaker named Janine. And first of all, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Fafan, as Zadira has mentioned. I completed my bachelor degree in linguistics at the University of Kelaniya in Sri Lanka. And now I'm pursuing my master's degree at the University of Zhengzhou, majoring in tourism management. I have been encountered several problems on making CV. Maybe it's not only my problem, but everybody's problem, that we sometimes think that we would like to apply for a job, we would like to apply for a scholarship, because personally, like, to be honest, I found it difficult. I found it like very confusing how to come up with a interesting CV, how to come up with a powerful CV. But today we will be hearing, we will be learning, we will be sharing, we will be discussing with these two experts about how to make a powerful CV. All right, before we move on to our next session, I would like to briefly introduce our speaker today. We will start with Mr. William Kwame Mamfo. He's from Ghana. He is currently a postgraduate student at Zhengzhou University, majoring in international trade. He has a lot of experiences, especially in teaching, and now he's concerning on business, because he is now reading international trade degree. Yet he would like to share with us about his experiences on making CV based on his personal experiences. So that's all from William. He will be introducing himself further later, and he would like to guide us. He will guide us on how to create a powerful CV, an interesting CV to apply for a job. So today we would like to divide the two sessions. The first session is going to be William's part, which is to discuss about creating CV on applying job related to professionals. And the second part will be taken over by Janine, which is going to be more focused on CV for academics purposes. So next, let's move on to our second speaker. She is Mrs. Janine C. Bryant. She's originally from Bahamas. She completed her bachelor degree in biology at Florida Memorial University at the United States, and then she continued studying at the University of Zhengzhou, majoring in genetics. She was receiving the Chinese government scholarship in 2014, and now she is still here in Zhengzhou to continue her PhD in bioinformatics. So as we have observed that Ms. Janine Miss Jenny has several experiences on applying scholarship, and she has successfully received a scholarship. So we are so curious about like the CV that she has submitted to the council. So because as far as I'm concerned, that before we apply, in order to apply for scholarship, in order to apply for fellowships, we are required to submit our CV. The question is, what kind of CV that is going to be interesting? What kind of CV that is powerful enough to achieve our goals? So we will move on to our first session, which is the discussion on how to make a powerful CV in professional purposes, which is going to be directed by Mr. William. Time is yours.
Okay, thank you, and thank you, listeners. We welcome you to this opportunity. At this moment, I just want to start with a question. But before then, as you have already said, my name is William. I come from Ghana, so I wouldn't want to talk much. You have already introduced me. So thank you very much for that. So I just want to go straight to the point because of time constraint. So the first question I want to ask all my listeners is this: why the need for CV? Why? Why do we need CV? Basically, when I started life, when I started my career, I asked myself this basic question: why don't I just present my certificate to any employer for job? And why are they asking me for CV? So I started to find out the answers for myself, and I believe it's going to help you. Now, one thing is, employers will only employ people whose qualities exactly speak of what exactly they want. If whatever qualities you have doesn't speak well of your CV, please don't apply for any job, because no employer will be ready to really employ you. Secondly, employers will want to employ whose information on their CV speaks on what they have done, what they want to do for the company, because no employer will employ anybody that at the end of the day, the company will collapse. Therefore, every employer is looking for something in the right kind of the employee. Now, my question is, why should the employer employ you? The employer wants to employ you because there is a challenge, there is a problem. And when you solve the challenge, when you solve the problem, then the employer can pay you. And this is what I call job. When we say a job means that when you solve a problem, then you are being paid. Am I right? I believe you are getting what I'm saying. Now, let me give you a basic analogy of these two animals. One is called the lion, one is called the horse. The lion sleeps for 18 hours and works for 6 hours. The lion sleeps for 18 hours and works for 6 hours. The horse sleeps for 6 hours and works for 18 hours. So the question is, who is the king? If the horse is working for 18 hours and sleeping for 6 hours, and the lion is sleeping for 18 hours and working for 6 hours, we all know that in the animal kingdom, the lion is the king of the jungle. Why? Because the lion knows when and where to get food. So as an employee, you must know when and where to get job. And this one is what I'm going to speak about your CV. Now, if I want to show my PPT to my listeners. So what is a CV? Basically, CV talks about you. CV talks about you. It defines you. So if you are following my PPT, be ahead with a CV from our experienced people, okay? So CV actually is a matter of fact, it's a document which really talks about you. Sometimes people want to put information on their CV which is not true. And employers will find out when they are interviewing you. If they are interviewing you, they are going to ask you questions based on what you have presented on your CV. So you need to be very careful on the kind of information you are putting on your CV. You must put what you can defend on your CV. Can you go to the next slide for me, the slide 4 or the slide 5? Yeah, I've already spoken about it. Thank you. Before you write your CV, that is slide 5. Before you write your CV, you must begin to know what kind of job you are looking for, okay? The kind of experience you have, the kind of skills the employer is looking for. Sometimes the employer will say, I need someone who has 2 years working experience. Meanwhile, you are just a fresh graduate that you are preparing your CV for this very particular job. So the question is, does it mean you don't qualify? No. It all depends on the kind of timely information you are putting on your CV. That is what is going to call the employer's attention to you. Okay? The next thing is your experience. That is why from now to the time you graduate from your university, you should be able to have friends, make friends, share ideas, not just in the classroom, but around you in the internet. You read about the jobs you want to go to do. You read about papers, you read about articles, so that at the end of the day, you can have a broad view of understanding of where exactly and when exactly you want to go into the job market. The next thing employers want to do is that they want to know whether you have the right kind of skills and the right kind of abilities. Now, when I say abilities, you should be able to know that if you are applying a job as an IT person, if you are applying a job as a teacher, if you're applying a job to work in a bank, if you're applying a job to work as a trader or whatever it is, there is a skill needed to be able to work in that very particular field. Now, if you are being employed as a banker doesn't teach. So we don't need teaching skills in the banking industry. We don't need it. It's not going to help us. At the same time, if you are employed as an administrator doesn't teach. Administrator doesn't handle banking materials. So you should be very careful the area you are applying the job and the kind of skills and ability the employer is looking for to be able to fit into the right kind of job you are looking for. The next slide talks about what to include in your CV, which is 1, your education, 2, your coursework. Sometimes you can add your coursework. Sometimes your computer skills, your Excel, your Word, your PowerPoint, all this stuff. The employer wants to know that this very person I want to employ, does this guy, does this lady has what it takes to be able to apply for this job. Okay. The next thing is the kind of project work you have done. Maybe in your classroom, you did some project work with your classmates. You overtook some leadership skills. You were the class prophet in your class, okay? Maybe in an organization in the school, you were the one who was leading the team. All these are skills. All these are experiences you are building for yourself. Remember, your CV is your life. So you should be very careful the things you put into your life as a result of your CV. Some of the informations are not needed on your CV. Don't make the employer angry, because there are so many applicants who has applied for that same very particular job. Therefore, there should be very something that will catch the attention of the employer to be able to call you for interview. The next thing to do is your resume categories. Now, the resume categories is just like what to include in your CV. It's the same thing, your education work, your personal contact. So maybe if you can show my CV so that maybe I can speak out of my CV, it will be easy for the listeners to be able to understand what exactly I am saying. If you can show my personal CV, I'll be very glad, okay? If you can show my personal CV, I'll be very glad so that they can know what exactly I'm saying. So you need to include your personal contact information, your career objectives. Why exactly do you need this job? Your qualifications, okay? So they are going to show you my personal CV, and maybe it will be easy for you to be able to see it. You need to be able to show the kind of experience you've had, the different places you have worked for, okay? Thank you very much. So let me read a very simple personal information, which I call the profile, my personal profile. So, experienced, professional, result-oriented person. So these are very key words you need to put in your CV. When you say experienced, when you say professional, when you say result-oriented, it means so many things. Okay, it means so many things. So therefore, you should be able to put the right kind of words into your CV as a profile. Can you go down to the working experience? Now, in your working experience, you need to show where you have worked. You need to show the number of years. You need to show what exactly you were doing. Okay? So if you were working as an administrator or as a frontline worker, you should be able to tell what exactly you are doing or you were doing. Don't just say, I am a teacher and just leave it. Don't just say, I am a linguist and just leave it. Don't just say, I am a banker and just leave it. A banker for what? A trader for what? You need to be able to specify what exactly you were doing in that very particular position. Okay? When you go down, it will tell you my various working experiences. It will tell you the kind of positions I was able to work for. Now, when the employer sees all these things, the employer will be very careful to be able to deal with you professionally. If you have nothing to show on your CV as an experience, it will be very difficult for the employer to deal with you in the same level the employer wants. The employer may be treating you as a servant, not as a boss. Employers want to employ people who will work more than them, who will contribute more than them, because your experience, based on your experience, is what they are going to pay you. Okay? So you should be very careful on what you put on. I'm going to give you one scenario of my life when I applied for a job, and when I put in my CV, they said, hey guy, I don't think you can work here because this CV, I'm not sure it's you. It doesn't talk about you. And I said, really? So I began to ask them questions. Why are you saying this? We don't believe at this age you can work for these various places. You did this in school, you did this in school. And I said, okay, please, can you give me the opportunity to be interviewed? So anytime you present your CV, it doesn't mean you are going to get a job. You presenting your CV is one way for the employer to be able to call you. When the employer calls you, then you'll be able to defend yourself of what exactly you can do for the employer. So when they called me and I began to speak of what exactly I have done without looking on my CV, because my CV is myself. People want other people to do their CV for them. When you allow someone to do your CV for you, you will fail. Do the CV yourself, because your CV is your life, is your career, is your everything. So do your best to draft your own CV. Don't let anyone do it for you. Okay? The next thing I want to speak about is anytime you draft a CV, at the end of the day, sit down and ask yourself, if you are the employer, will you employ this very person who has this CV? You need to ask, you need to question yourself, will I be able to get this job? Is this information correct? Am I sure or not? So when you begin to ask yourself, then the same questions you are asking yourself, when you go to the interview room, the same questions are going to be asked to you, because you are behaving like the employer. Now, the next thing I want to speak and probably bring everything to an end with a few experiences. Your qualification and your CV may get you a job one day, but your qualification and your CV will never maintain you in your job position. Okay? So it's different thing to have CV and your qualification for the job. Trust me, you are going to get a job, because this very platform is going to help you, is going to shape your life, is going to be able to give you what it takes to be able to draft your own CV. At the end of the day, what is going to maintain you in the job position is your character, is your attitude, is the way you see things, the way you handle situations. When your boss says, William, can you do this for me? You have to tell the boss, yes. Even if you cannot do it, tell the boss, boss, I will try. Always never say no to any employer. Never say no to any opportunity that comes your way, because your CV is yourself. I believe I've made myself clear. My last point to share with you is, I had a friend who was going for an interview. She's a Chinese lady. And this lady called me a day before the interview. William, you know, tomorrow I'm going for an interview and they just need me. I just presented a CV as you told me what to do, and they have called me. William, what should I do in the interview room? I said, okay, don't panic, relax, take a shower, relax yourself. Go through the CV, read everything, get confidence, make sure what you have put on the CV, you can speak to it. Whatever you put on your CV, please, with all due respect, make sure you can speak to everything on your CV. If you know you can't speak to any information on your CV, please and please don't present it. Thank you very much at this moment, and I believe as the questions come, we'll be able to answer it as it is. Thank you for your attention.
All right, thank you very much, William. Very interesting. Thank you for the energy. Thank you for sharing with us. We just witnessed one of a very interesting explanation from William, according to his experiences. We're very glad to have you, sir. And now we'll move on to the second speaker, Mrs. Janine. She is going to be discussing about how to create a powerful CV, how to create an impactful CV related to academics, how related to scholarships application, and etc. This is also one of major questions that we as young generation have, like what we are going to do after we completed our bachelor degree, or we are completing our master degree. We would like to apply for scholarship and etc. We need CV in order to apply for the scholarship. So now here we have Mrs. Jenian to share with us. Mrs. Jenian, time is yours.
Okay, thank you so much, Fasan. It's my pleasure actually today to talk to you guys about how to make an excellent academic CV, not only an excellent academic CV, but also CV for when it comes to a scholarship application. So can we go to the PPT, please? Like was said recently with William said recently, when it comes to a CV for um, academics or scholarship, you have to sell yourself. This is the opportunity that you're going to tell the scholarship organization that you're capable, more than capable, in actually fulfilling what you have on the CV. Not only that, but you're more capable of holding the scholarship for a period of time. So, PPT. So apart from that, what we want to talk about today in detail is we want to talk about how to write an excellent academic CV for scholarship. What this is basically is a CV that is geared to more, so it's different from the professional CV that William stated earlier, but it's a CV that's stated more towards your academic. What is your goals for your academic career and how you're going to fulfill these specific goals. So we're moving right along. We wait for the PPT to come up and then we'll talk a little bit more. So when it comes to a scholarship resume, it's a little bit similar to a professional resume in it that it has the same section, but in these specific sections, you have more in detail when it comes to your work experience and also your academic experience too as well. So we have four to six parts of actual academic, academic CV, and the parts are your personal information, your work experience, or your academic experience. For some people, you do not have work experience as yet, but this is any opportunity that you had to work in this case. So let's go along with the CV, the PPT. So second slide, please. Okay. So with our scholarship resume for the second slide, thank you. With our scholarship resume for our outline is that we have a personal information. This is basically your contact information, objective, academic experience, work awards, and skills. Now, like Fafan said earlier, I had the opportunity to actually be awarded my 3 times when I studied for my undergraduate degree, my master's, and also for the scholarship now for my PhD. I had the opportunity of going through this procedure each time, and each time I actually learned what to actually do. Because when it comes to this type of specific outline, you have to be very specific and it has to be oriented towards the actual audience that you're going towards. For instance, if you're going for organization for women that only gives scholarship for women, you're going to make sure that your CV is catered to that specific organization for that specific scholarship. So moving to the next slide. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to go through each section to understand how to make a CV. I'm going to give examples as well because, one of the biggest things, we're going to go back to personal contact information. One of the biggest things that, most students ask me, we're going to go back to the third slide, please. One of the biggest things that students ask me is that, okay, if I already understand what is a CV, how to make a CV, what is an example that you can give me of what to do? So we're going to go to personal information, please. Personal information, which is the third slide. Okay, so for example of a personal information, it is up to you if you want to put your birth date. But for most people, the most formality of what they do is they put their full name, their address, their phone, and their email address. These are the basic things that you're going to put on this in this section. Subjective section is a bit different from professional objective section. Next slide, please. But objective section is a bit different from a personal CV or a professional CV because it consists of 3 parts that you have to take into consideration. We're going to go to the fourth slide, please. So for the objective section, we have the academic record. You're going to have the relevant activities and the purpose. Let me go through each section properly. So the academic record, this is basically what you did while you were studying. What was your grade? What was the feedback that you got from some of the teachers, what you thought was helpful towards your growth in your academic career? Also, relevant activities is the extracurricular activities. Most organizations for scholarships, they don't want a bookworm. And when I say a bookworm, it's basically a person that focuses on study, and they don't have a life other than study. Like for instance, they probably organizational president of a club, or they probably sew on the side, or they run. This is relevant activities or extracurricular activities. Also, purpose. Purpose is a very important part of anything, a CV, of your when you're writing a thesis, anything that you want to do. Purpose is so important because we want to understand, or they want to understand, why you want the scholarship, why you choose to further your education, or why you as a person want to further yourself in this specific area. Going to the next slide, please, the fifth slide. So let me give you some examples of how to do that. I have two examples of when it comes to objective. So, I'm a science student at heart, so I actually made the examples catered to science. So I'm so sorry for those who are marketing or any type of other major. For science students, let me just read it for you, with a very strong academic record. This is like a no-no. They don't want to know exactly that you say verbally that is a strong academic record. They don't want to know that. What they want to know is, how do you have a strong academic record? So we're going to move down to the second one. It says, students studying science at Stanford University consistent with a 3.5 GPA. So this is telling the actual scholarship organization, okay, this is my GPA. I am a student at this university. I studied for 3 consecutive years. And then also I did some form of internship. And then the last line is your purpose. So the purpose basically stating in this case is that they're stating that they hope to continue their research and development to examine the impact of clinical drugs. They have a purpose there. So this is what they want to do. Next slide, please. With your objective, your academic experience is also very, very important, as well as, some people, they don't like to put their GPA on the CV, but if you think that you're comfortable enough with the GPA that you have, you can put it on the CV for everybody to see. Now, you have to state what degree you are at, your Bachelor's of Arts in Biology, expected graduation date, also what school you go to, and then, like I say, it's optional to put your GPA or not. So when it comes to your favorite, some organizations, like I said earlier, it depends on the type of organizations you sign up to. For instance, if I'm going after a scholarship that is more so geared towards my field of study, like science, I will state to them my favorite subject, to give them an understanding. Okay, she has favorite subject. She probably did really well in this subject, and she wants to continue on in a specific route. When it comes to extracurricular activities, you can also state this as academic experience. I put it in one. You have, like, for instance, I was the president of Circle K organization. I volunteer my time. These are the things that they want to see, because they want to understand that, okay, this student was not only interested in studying, but they also was interested in helping their community. Because at the end of the day, they don't want somebody just focusing on studying. Next slide, please. Okay, next. Okay, so we have work experience. Okay, for most students, when they sign or have an academic CV or sign up for scholarships, you might not have work experience. But anything that you did, even if it was, okay, you work with your cousin or your uncle inside of an organization, of course, that can be recognized, you can state this. Because they want to say, okay, this person actually has some work ethic. Also, make sure that you also state the references as needed, the work reference. I won't say work references, but the people that can be contacted to verify that, okay, this person is a hard worker. They not only had the study habit, but they also work too as well. So I gave an example here of some form of work experience. If we look at the first one, I said researcher. Like if you're a science, you can say that you was a researcher. Even if you assist for 1 month, 1 week, you state these things inside of the resume so it can be shown that, okay, I did this type of work and I'm capable of not only doing work as in studying, but I'm also capable of working as well. Okay, next slide. Next slide, we're going to move on to awards and honors. Yeah. So going more on, so when it comes to work experience, we're going to talk about for students, you do not have this, like I said earlier, but anything that you feel comfortable to put inside of this experience, you can put inside of it that is work related. But the most important part for me when it comes to scholarship CV is when you have what is known as awards and honors. The awards and honors are very, very important because it states to the actual scholarship organizers that you have the ability to actually hold awards, and these organizations can be contacted so they can know that, okay, the student, okay, they did hold my award for 1 year, their grades were capable and their grades were good, so the student is able to actually hold a nice scholarship, or the student is very hardworking towards the award and honors can show this inside of it. For example, just let me give you an example. When a person asks or when they see your CV, it's a bit different from a personal CV because a professional, I'm so sorry, not a personal, but professional. But when they see a professional CV, in the event they will likely have an interview. Now, when it comes to a scholarship CV, and majority of times you will not have an interview in person. Only like when it comes to the master's level or the PhD level, definitely you will have an interview. But if they don't have an interview with you, this is going to be a little bit difficult. So that means that you really, really, really have to sell yourself when it comes to your awards and honors and also your academic experience. When I say sell yourself, any award that you have gotten, you have to place it there. So for example, let me give you an example. If you are able to have an interview, they're going to ask you, oh, so you had the award for CSC, which is the Chinese government scholarship. What did you think of that award? You give them your feedback. You also say that, okay, I maintained a GPA of this. Also, when I was doing my CSC, I also, when I hold the CSC scholarship, I not only maintain my GPA, but I also was a part of these organizations. You have to really sell yourself because at the end of the day, they don't want somebody that's going to get the award and do not fulfill what is on their resume or what they said in the interview. You have to really, really, really stand out and sell yourself properly. When it comes to CV as well, too, you have to take into consideration is that your skills are very important because for some scholarships, it might be catered towards your specific study. So if you're going after a marketing scholarship, so you're going to say, okay, I'm going after marketing scholarship. What are the skills that I can actually contribute to the marketing field? Or like in my case, I always went after the scholarship that was geared towards science. When I was an undergraduate, for master's and PhD, it was a little bit different. But for undergraduate, I would say, okay, so I want to, my skills are, I know how to do this work inside of the lab. I know how to work with plants. I know how to work with some types of bacteria. These type of skills that they want to see on your CV because you have to fulfill, like William said, when you go, whatever you put on your CV, you have to actually know how to do. You don't want to just lie on your CV, and then when you actually place in the situation, you cannot fulfill the job that you said that you can do. But one of the most important things in making a CV and also CV for professional or for scholarship, you have to have some form of drive and purpose. This is the most important part of the process. Because if you don't have a drive or purpose, you will not write a good CV and you will not be chosen for that specific scholarship or not. So when it comes to any type of writing or any type of preparation, in this case, you have do's and don'ts. So what are the do's of making a specific CV? You have to customize your CV for each application that you do. So if you're going after this specific application, you have to customize it for that specific application. You have to lead with your education and skills. For a scholarship CV, you have to make sure that they know that your educational skill is like top notch. When I say top notch, is that you, I mean, okay, when I say top-notch, I don't mean that the GPA is probably like a 4 point or 3.999. It's just so to say that you're capable of doing what you said you're going to do. Also, you have to include any work experience that you have. This is a must, and you have to use proper reference in this case. Proper reference is definitely needed inside of this case because you want the people who are gonna speak on your behalf. They speak good in your case for you. When it comes to the don't and when making CV, please do not be so short. You have to be very explicit and very clear what your purpose is. What do you want? What are you going after? What is your future goal? In the case, in my case, I would say my future goal is to someday be a professor at our university. So you will probably state these type of things if you want to be marketing, want to work for a company that deals specifically towards marketing. Also, we're gonna have one of the don'ts is you don't give crazy facts about yourself. They, one of my friends, right? They went into an interview, and when they went into the interview, they saw their CV for their scholarship. They was given all the details about their life and their study life and stuff like that. This is not important because what they want at the end of the day is it's gonna have to be short, explicit, but right to the point, but very effective. One of your biggest words is you have to be effective because you want to make sure at the end of the day, if you go for an interview or when they read your CV for scholarship, they go, okay, this person, I'm going to choose this person for the actual scholarship. So one of my things is that, for most people is that when you save your CV, you have to be cautious of, saving your CV. This is very important because sometimes when you save your CV in Word, it can be shifted a bit. But what I suggest is that when you save a CV, save it in PDF format because this will make sure that the CV is intact. So this is just one of my small little tips that I could give towards when it comes to CV. Apart from that, I hope that today that we understand that a professional and a scholarship CV, they are both similar, but yet a little bit different. When it comes to the difference inside of a scholarship versus a professional CV, a professional CV is when you sell to the organization or to the company or the university where you want to go that you are capable of doing the work. You've studied for this many years and you're capable. But for a scholarship CV, it's saying that you're able to maintain and uplift the scholarship because one of the things when it comes to scholarship, they do statistics, how many students maintain the scholarship, how many students actually not only maintain the scholarship, they had good grades and when they had the scholarship. So this is one of the most important things. Thank you. I hope that everybody understands what was said today, and I hope that we have good questions. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Jennings. What a very delightful explanation from you. Now we would like to move on to our next session, which is question and answer. Before we have been selecting some of questions from the audiences, yet before I elaborate those questions, I would like to give a question from myself for both of you, William and Janine. So I have a question for William. Sir, what is your suggestion for those who just graduated from university, having no work experiences, yet they still have to be able to come up with powerful CV? As you have mentioned before, that when we would like to apply for jobs, we need to mention our working experiences and etc. But this is also one of the biggest problem of those who just graduated, the fresh graduates. They don't have working experiences, then they still have to face this problem. I personally faced that last year when I just graduated from my bachelor degree. I was trying to apply for some jobs, and most of the jobs vacancies that I read was saying like you need like at least 2 years experiences of this, 2 years of experience of this, and like I was like, okay, I'm just a fresh graduate, so I don't have such experiences. So, Mr. William, if you have any idea about this.
Thank you, my brother, and thank you, everyone. I also did face the same challenge when I also graduated from my bachelor degree looking for a job. But one thing I told myself is when every employer is looking for work experience, basically sometimes it's not the corporate work experience. Sometimes any job, any work you did in your life, of which its experience you have gathered can help the position you are applying for, then you can write it as your work experience. Let me give you an example. If the employer is looking for 2 years experience in, let's say you are a teacher, okay, 2 years experience. Meanwhile, you have never taught in any corporate teaching environment, but you have taught your colleagues, you have taught your friends, okay, you have been able to do something in the classroom whilst the teacher asks you to explain something, which means you have the skills, you have the ability to do something, even though it was not in the real classroom environment as you were teaching. Another fact is that you should be able to tell the employer on your CV that, yes, I don't have the work experience, but give me the chance because I believe I can create a change. I can make a change, a difference when you give me the opportunity. Sometimes employers want to look at employees who have confidence, okay, who really don't feel shy, that they can speak to the face of the employer that I can do it. Just give me the chance. And that is what I told my first employer. Sir, just give me the chance. Give me 6 months. If I don't perform well, don't pay me, sack me. Sometimes you need to put some challenge to yourself, even though you don't have the work experience. Put it on your CV that, yes, I don't have the work experience, but I have the skills. I have the knowledge to be able to bring change to your company. Sir, just give me the chance. So I believe this is what is going to help. And for me, if you look through critically into my CV, because I knew every employer is going to ask for work experience, anything I get or I lay my hands on, I do it. And I add it on my CV. So when my professor asks me, William, can you do this for my students? Can you do this? I will do it. When I do it and they get the result, I will add it on my CV that I was able to help this group of students and they were able to do this. I add it on my CV. It's work experience. So this is basically my simple analogy, my simple understanding of when any employer is looking for work experience from you, you should be able to tell the employer. Maybe Jane will add something to it. Thank you.
Sure, thank you, Mr. William. So maybe, Mrs. Jane, do you have any kind of like additional information that you would like to share with us? Yeah, Mrs. Janice. Do you have any kind of like additional information or any suggestion?
Hi, Fasten. So basically, like William said, it's the truth. For me, I also experienced the same thing in my undergraduate because I actually took 3 years off. And my first year, I was completely without a job because of this experience. What happened? What I did was I volunteered. That's the biggest thing you need to do. You have to boost your CV up. Even if, like William said, if you work and you don't get the money, don't worry about it too much. Okay, if you have to pay bills, you have to worry. But if you don't really have that commitment and your parents are still able to take care of you, you have to build your CV and somehow like volunteer. One of the biggest things is that this is just a suggestion of mine. For those who are studying now and they're not finishing within the next year or so, I advise you to do internships because internships really help you out on your CV because you might not have the work experience, but they can actually see, okay, this person did this such and such an internship, they're able to work and we're able to teach them because we don't have to start from zero because they're starting what they know. So this is you know, one of my feedbacks on this right here.
All right.
All right, thank you. Thank you, both of you. So that was the explanation from William and Mrs. Jenny regarding my question related to the common problem that we face as a fresh graduate who just graduated, but we had no idea of like, you know, to apply for jobs that inquires you some kind of like kind of duration of experiences. So I have picked up some of the questions from our participants tonight. Then now we'll move on to the next session, which is the question and answer from the participants. I have selected 3 questions from the participants, and I would like to read the first question. It is from Akshal. Axel wants to ask to Mrs. Jennings. So Mrs. Jennings, the design of CV, can it affect the percentage of being accepted on scholarship? Does it have any kind of like, you know, influence the design of our CV? Can it be like, can it be matters to our percentage of being accepted for that scholarship? That is the first question from our participants.
Okay, so for me in essence, I would say no, but I went to the experience where my design for my CV actually affected me getting a scholarship. I won't say a scholarship, but it was something towards my PhD funding. Because of my how it was designed, they gave me a feedback was that the design was poor. We did not choose it. Well, it wasn't so harsh, but I'm just giving you an example. The design was not what we were looking for, despite you had the you know, the committed your achievements or such was committed, but your design was not properly done. It was a little bit disorganized. So when it comes to the design, I would say sometimes it do not affect because I've used many CVs similar design and it did not affect me in getting a scholarship. But you know, in essence, if you have a poor design or you feel like your design is not so good, make sure that your academic experience, everything else is correct, and make sure that it's organized correctly. This is the most important thing. You don't want to just give them something that is disorganized or not so tidy. This is one of the reasons why you might not be chosen because, you know, like I said, for scholarship CV, they sometimes do not have an interview with you. The first person they're going to meet, or not really the first person, but the first aspect of you they're going to see is your CV. Not only your CV, your writing as well. You have to take that in consideration. Your writing has to be correct. Like, you know, if you're going for an English company or a Chinese company, make sure that your spelling and your grammar is correct. This is also part of the design as well. When it comes to design purposes, I don't think the layout matters, but what really matters is that if you have everything that is organized correctly. So I would say, in essence, yes and no, but yes, more yes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So that's all from Mrs. Jenny for answering the question from Axel. So I would like to move on to the second question, which is from Bila. So Bila was asking whether attending conference, internship, and even webinars like this, can we include that as our work experience or academic experience? And to attach our personal photo in our CV, is it compulsory? So maybe you both can answer this question. We can start from Will now.
Okay, so thank you for that question. Whoever asked, you can't really say it's part of your work experience. When you look at my CV, I have a column for seminars, and webinar is an example of a seminar. So you need to write and put it on your CV that you attended this seminar. And the knowledge I got from it, I believe it can help in my job position. Whatever you do, whatever knowledge you get, try and make sure you put it on the job application position. Other than that, you wouldn't get a job because the employer doesn't need whatever you did on webinar. He doesn't need it. But if you can tell the employer that the experience I had from webinar, at least I can bring it on the organization and it's going to help the other employees, the other colleagues, the other customers, is going to help them. So any experience, try and link it to the position of your job. So for me, I can say it's part of your seminars you have attended, but not part of your work experience. Also, it's important you add your personal photo on your CV. Very important. Now, there are so many people who wouldn't add it. Fine, if you don't add it, at the end of the day, when they call you for interview, they want to look at the picture on the CV and compare with the person sitting down. If you are the same person, if you are, it will clear every doubt from the employer. But put any picture on the CV, they'll be wondering whether you are the one or not. So this is personally my humble submission.
All right, thank you, Mr. William. Now we would like to hear from Mrs. Jenny.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hello. Okay. So when it comes to internship and conferences, I would say put it there because it shows that you actually take interest in your career, like, and also you went up there and you actually invest time into your career. So I would say put it inside of your CV and make sure there's a section that is outlined, the number of conferences you went to, how long the conference was, the name of the conference, because it will actually help you in essence when going for a job. When going for a scholarship, it also help you in essence because it could say that you actually invested, like I said before, you invested the time in your future, you invested the time in what you wanted to do. Thank you.
And that's all. And what about attaching our personal photo in our CV?
Oh, personal photo. For me, in essence, I do not have personal photo in my CV. I feel like I don't want to give. This is my opinion. I feel like I want them to just look at my background when it comes to my academic, my work experience, also of a non-biased view of me. And then when they meet me, oh, that's a different story. I want them to just meet me and in person and then make a decision based on my CV, not based on, how I look. This is just me personally. But what I've noticed is recently a lot of people now are putting pictures in their CV, and I think that it's okay if you feel comfortable to do that for you. But in essence, some people do not feel comfortable. So I feel like you do not have to put it. It's not mandatory, but for some people they want to. Don't want to.
All right. Great. Thank
you.
you, Mr. Jenin. Okay, now we still have one more question from our participants. I would like to pick from Haris Setiawan. Good night. What is the relationship between CV or resume with our study plan or proposal research, and how important it is? Maybe this kind of question can be addressed to Mrs. Jenin.
Hello, can you repeat the question again? It actually.
Okay, I can repeat the question. So here, Haris Setiawan asked the question: what is the relationship between CV and our study plan or proposal research, and how important it is?
The relationship between CV, study plan, and proposal is a bit different. But CV is a CV. study plan is what you plan on studying, what you plan on doing with your studies. And a personal proposal is actually an outline of your actual study, what you're going to do, how you're going to accomplish it, or what you plan on doing further with this study that you have. For example, I will give, like, for instance, if I'm studying, I'll just give a science example. If I'm studying science, how am I going to, I'm going to have a question, and I'm going to outline basically my question, my reasons or my objective of how I'm going to answer this question. This is a personal proposal research. When it comes to the study plan, it's just what you plan on studying and how you're going to accomplish that. And the resume is the resume itself. It's what you accomplished already and what is your purpose. Hello?
Right, that's all, Mrs. Jenny.
Okay.
Okay, I hope it can answer the question from Haris. And actually, we have a quite interesting discussion here in the comment box that some people were very curious about something. Actually, this is not very related to our CV, but this is very interesting for us to know related to our professionals experiences, like how much salary that you want for this job. Like, we often get this question on interview, work jobs interview. So some of our participants are very curious about how can we wisely answer such questions. Maybe Mr. William and Mrs. Jenny, you can share your idea or perspective on this.
Actually, this is one of the dangerous questions anyone will ever face in an interview room. And especially when they ask you this question, it means that you are in a way halfway through getting the job when they asked you this question. And I think the first time I was being asked, before I did a little bit research, and this is what you have to do. If you are applying a job in the marketing field, try and ask people who work in the marketing field how much basic salary they earn. If you are working in the banking sector as well, try and ask anyone who works in the banking sector how much basic salary they earn, so that you can say, you wouldn't say exactly, but you can always say about, or you can put the question back to them. How much do they pay their employers who start working with them in the same position you are applying for? So it's in two ways. If you know definitely, and if you know you have a friend in that very company you are applying the job for, then you can ask the friend. The friend may be likely to tell you that this is how much we normally pay people who comes here. In a way, you have a fair idea. So you can say, okay, I want you to pay me about 6,000 yuan or about 8,000 yuan. You have a fair idea. But if you don't have a fair idea, you throw the question back to them. Please, I would like to find out from you, how much do you usually pay your new employees who assume this same position I'm about to assume? In that sense, you are free. The question is on them to answer. This is my personal submission.
Sure. Thank you, William. What about Mrs. Janice? Do you have any idea related to this question?
Yeah, what I would say is that, like William said, if you're going for a specific job, one of the biggest things is you have to do your research. Because in every interview that you get, especially if they really want you, they're going to ask you, what do you think your basic salary should be starting off? And you want to say a salary that is close to or around what they give their first-time employees or new employees. So what you're going to do, you're going to ask people, or you could just do a Google research and find out what is the basic salary for this specific job. We're coming in as a new employee. So when you do the specific research, then when you're in the interview, it won't be so hard for you to answer. Well, don't go directly say, okay, I would like to receive such and such and such. But you can say, okay, my range, what I think is comfortable, or what I would like is between this range and that range. Just give them like I would say a range, and then let the company think about, okay, if they really want you, if they're comfortable in paying you in that range, most likely they already have a figure in mind what they want to give you as an employee, but they want to see exactly, okay, what does this person think they are worth? Okay, that's it.
Good.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much for both of you for the very interesting discussion we have tonight. And now, oh, we still have time, and maybe we can get one more question from the participants. Oh, okay. This question is from Yulianti. I would like to ask, should we design our CV with picture, templates, or stickers and colorful stuff to make it interesting? Do you think these kind of things are necessary to do? Yeah, Mr. William, maybe you can start.
Okay. Whoever asked this question, thank you. I think it's bothering you, so you have to ask, and I believe you're going to get the answers as well. Basically, sometimes I don't feel you need to add pictures and colors and those kind of stuff. I really don't think so. It should be very direct and straightforward. Just that the format should be very correct and precise and go exactly on what exactly you want to do. Now, there should be a template. Yes, there is a template for that. Pictures and colors and pictures. I don't know what exactly you're talking about when you say a picture. Is it your personal picture or whose picture? If your personal picture, as James said, it depends. You can put your picture there, or you may decide not to do that. It depends on you, okay? But there is a template for that. And I believe maybe if you look at mine, you can see the template as well. Now, let me say this. CV is, to a large extent, different from resume. CV is very big, very complicated, but resume, sometimes you have to design it just to fit the job that you are looking for. But CV sometimes have to go back to what exactly you have done and what you are trying to do in your life. So sometimes CV, there is a little bit different changes you do in your CV. But resume is just as you design it for that very particular job. Because if you have done or have work experience, then I can say you are creating a CV. Then you can do a little bit changes. Maybe this one may be another topic we can look at. But for now, I can say don't add colors and those kind of stuff to it. For me, I don't think it's needed. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Janet?
I would agree with William. Adding stickers is not okay. I would not add a sticker on a CV, even if it's for a friend. I won't add a sticker on a CV. For pictures, I would think if the picture is relevant, in the case to your study or your, some type of event that you went to and you want to just show them the piece in the picture, I think that is okay. But stickers and colors is not relevant on a CV. Matter of fact, when you're writing your CV, color words is not okay. Just stick to black, just black. I would say stick to black and white for the CV because you know you're going after an audience probably is a bit older and they're not used to the sticker thing, the emojis and stuff like that. So I would not add those to my CV.
All right, maybe I can summarize a little bit from the answers of both speakers that we just discussed. Maybe it is like a very controversial question that we had just now, like the question related to salary, and also about like putting colors and stickers on our CV. I completely can understand about it because as a young people, as a youngsters, we tend to kind of like, you know, try to do new things, experiences, like experiments to create a CV, would like to make something interesting. But Jenny and William are right that we create our CV for someone or for some people to read, and those people might probably are not young. So I think it's so much better that we do not confuse them because of the colors, because of the stickers and etc.
Yeah.
So that is true. I think I agree with both of you that we have to make our CV as clear as we can do. So, okay, before we come up to our summary, we have one more, just a tiny question from our participants. It is related to the length of our CV. Will it be necessary to write a long CV, or like, do you think like how many pages are necessary for CV, are suitable?
Okay. Sometimes it depends on the person. If you have a vast experience, working experience, academic experience, and all these things, sometimes it may go even more than 6 or 5. But if you don't have enough of that, sometimes 2 or 3 or 4. So for me, it depends on what you have done in your life. If you look at mine is about stretching to 7 pages. So the question is, what have I done? So it depends on what you have done. That is going to tell what exactly the number of pages you're going to have. If you have done something few, I don't think you should write so many things which really doesn't talk about you because you want to make your CVs many pages. No. What should be on your CV should be exactly what you have done. So if what you have done can stretch your pages to 10, that is okay. But if you have not done that, please don't attempt to add more pages on your CV whilst you know you have not done that job. Thank you. So I think, Madam Jane, you can continue.
Okay, so in essence, like William said, yes, it depends on what you have done. If you're a type of person like me, if I'm reading a CV, I really don't like a long CV. So it depends on what you want. But I always take into consideration, I don't like to read nothing long. So it depends if you want a CV or a resume. Because there's two bit of a difference. The CV in essence is when you have like more detail, and the resume is a little bit more shorter actually. So when it comes to a resume, stick to the point. You don't want to run out or run over. But when it comes to the CV, this is when you go more in detail what your actual history of your whole academic life, your work life, and stuff like that. But like William say, if you have done a lot and you want to show it in your resume, you state it. You just go out there and you state everything that you want for the readers or the employers or the scholarship organization to see. So it's up to you. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for both of you. I think it was very interesting to discuss this thing with two of you. So before we close our webinar tonight, before I also read the summary of our discussion, there is a question that kind of like bothering me as well that we need to kind of like discuss it before we end this discussion. It's from Handi. Handi is asking, what documents should be submitted other than the CV when applying for a job?
One funny thing is that all these questions I also asked myself, or I was being asked some time ago when I started the working experience as well.
Right.
Before the CV, there is something we call the cover letter, or what we call the application letter. Now people say cover letter. People don't really say application letter. It's cover letter. So I wish to apply for this job, so and so. I am this, I did that. Therefore, I'll be very glad if you can call me for interview to be able to defend that. Then beneath it, please find attached my CV. So it's on your CV that you are telling the employer that you went to school at this, you did that. So the education certificate should be very important. Anything you did, any award you had, okay, they are all certificates. You should be able to add them. Any seminar you attended, any conference, any internship you did, if you have the certificates, please add them, okay? But at the end of the day, when you submit, they are going to tell you, can you show us all your certificates you have? Sometimes, initially, they will not ask you, so you don't need to present it initially. But as and when they call you for the interview, they are going to ask you, can we see all your certificates? Because whatever you have written on your CV, if there are certificates that was awarded to you, you need to go to the interview room with all your certificates. So your degree or your bachelor or your PhD or your master's certificate, you need to have it. Your award certificate, if you have, you need to add it. Your seminar certificate or internship, you need to add it. If you did sports, like volleyball, basketball, whatever you did that you have certificate, add it because it all speaks about you. Thank you.
All right, that's all. Thank you. Maybe Mrs. Jane, do you have any additional information, or is that all?
Well, considering what
You're
William
good.
said is true, whatever bit of information you have, you can present it. If it's on an online system, it's a bit different. They will be specific what they want. They will say the CV, they will say the cover letter. They'll be very specific. But if you're walking into an interview, this is a bit different. In assets, this is a bit different. So it's whatever you have and you want them to see. If they ask you, you can give it. If they don't ask you, I don't think it's necessary to give. But you should present and have everything ready to present it.
All right. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much to both of you. So before we close our discussion tonight, I would like to point out some of important informations that that has been discussed. The first one is professional academic CVs share many similarities, yet the two are still different somehow in many points. CV or curriculum vitae should reflect yourself, reflect the best version of yourself. In order to create a powerful CV, you need to come up with clear and specific goals. So this means you need to have the drive. You need to have your objectives on what kind of purposes you need to, why you need to create the CV, why you need to write the CV. And as William has mentioned before, that we do not need to put unnecessary and unrelated information to our CV. If you are going to apply for a staff as a staff in a bank, you don't need to include your teaching experiences because you don't teach people in the bank. So something like that. That is a very easy example given by William. And also the next point is diction matters. We have to select powerful words such as experience, professional, result-oriented. Such kind of words will help your CV to look elegant, to look more powerful. Besides of the diction, details also matter. To not only write your working experiences, just like working in the bank sector, you have to give the details of like what was your kind of like roles in the job, what kind of like the details of your job. So we need to put our details in our working experiences, in our academic experiences. I think it is necessary for us to contribute on our success for making the CV. And also Ms. Jane added that we, beside of giving kind of like interesting information or like a powerful information, like as I've mentioned before, we should also include honest information. The information that you provide on your CV should be honest, should be true, should be valid. And also, she also mentioned that we could customize our CV according to the needs of the CV itself. So for academic CV or professional CV, both share many similarities, but still different in some ways. But in order to create a powerful CV, one of the best point that we can highlight from our discussion tonight is like you need to be clear for your future goals. What is your objective? What is your drive on creating that CV? And I remember I was watching one of like Indonesian TV shows. The presenter saying that having a powerful CV will help you. Having a powerful CV will help you to be invited to the job interview. For example, if I'm applying for a job, having a powerful CV will help me to be invited to the job interview. But there is no guarantee that I could get the job, because the CV will reflect you and will attract the employers or the scholarship providers, but all of the result, all of the success will be dependent on your on your real capability. As William also mentioned before, that the CV will not guarantee of how long you can work on that job. So I think that is all from me as a moderator. I would like to say thank you very much again for William and also Janian for sharing the wonderful discussion tonight. And thank you for all of the participants for joining us tonight. I hope that we could see again on the next episodes of our webinar. And now I would like to offer back to our host. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Fafan, excuse me. Like, I want to thank all of the speakers. It was really useful suggestions that we can approach to our CV and resume. It was really, really useful for me in person. So thanks a lot for moderator to leading this sharing session. Now we are in the last session, and I want to thank all of the audience joining our webinar. We will send you your certificate in our WeChat group, so don't forget to fill out your certificate from shared in our group. Again, I want to remind you about our competition. Competition, and you can send your CV or resume, and deadline for this competition is 2 weeks from submission. Is like 2 weeks after webinar. So don't forget to send your best CV resume to our CP. I will text in chat box below the information of webinar, and the winner will be released May 4th, 2019. Now, I was wondering if you can, if you all could open your video and let us to take a photo together. I want to ask you, each of you, open your video, and we will take a photo.
Okay, sure.
It's done.
Okay, we'll wait for a second. We'll wait for the other participants to open their video, the camera.
One, two, three. Wait.
Okay, 1, 2, 3. Once more. 1, 2, 3. All right, done.
It's done.
It's done.
Done?
Sure, it's done. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank
Zadira. You can
Clearly?
wind up.
Motivation. Apa deh?
You can wind up the session.
Thank you very much, guys. See you next session.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody. I hope you enjoy the discussion.
Good night.
Bye.
Good night. I hope that everybody read a good CV.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Lah, Ismail.
For the moderator and the speakers can stay first. And also Zadira. Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Thank you. We can leave now. Okay.